Briefing items today, unscheduled business. I see Dennis in the back. Come on up. Please limit your comments to 10 minutes. We're on a tight schedule today.
I have two topics. Try to be as brief as I can. First, it relates to your health insurance plan. In your budget that you've been reviewing for the last month, there's a line for your health insurance plan, all of your insurance funds. It's clear from the numbers that are there is no projected increase as of this date in your cost of providing health care to employees. A little bit of history. In 2012, the budget for 2013 was done about this time of year. Same kind of thing had happened. 2 or 3 years of good results with your medical plan, no discussion in meetings, no increase in premiums, and about November or December, the wheels came off of the plan. And you, Rose and John, will surely remember this. You had tremendous problems, millions of dollars you had to make up because the past was not repeated. In a self-insured plan, you always have to be looking out for bad years. The fact that you've had 2 relatively good years in a row is pretty much meaningless because you're self-insured and you have no way of predicting how sick people are going to be from here to the end of the year or next year. I would say you should always plan on an increase in premiums because the cost of care, as you can read in any newspaper, is going up. There should have been done by now a study of your premiums, and you should have by now brought in your newly hired consultant who would have suggested her thoughts about what you should do with premiums. Why this is important to the general fund, which is discussions have been going on primarily about the general fund, is that if premiums go up to the degree they ought to, every department's budget is going to go up because the employees, the county share of the insurance is funded by the departments. And that if the revenue is not budgeted in there, the expense is not budgeted in there right now, obviously you're looking at a budget that doesn't have enough cost included in the general fund and other funds, the landfill fund, et cetera, that have employees. So I urge you to insist that your staff immediately provide a report, bringing in experts, discussing what should be done with the plan, and suggesting what should be done with the premiums that are charged under that plan. Second issue. In 1981, a resolution was passed by the voters discussing your capital improvement plan. And the voters approved the establishment of a sales tax. And there was a resolution that accompanied the ballot issue, which I am having passed out, that the voters said this is how the money is to be spent. And the handout I just gave you is just one section 12, but and it goes through giving this much to the town of Palisade, this much to Fruita, blah blah. And then in section 12.4, I've circled. I'll read the one sentence. The revenue specified in section 12.1 hereof shall be credited to said fund and used solely for the purpose of providing capital improvements for Mesa County or paying debt services, et cetera, et cetera. I presented this wording to a couple of you probably 2 weeks ago, and we are still waiting apparently for the county attorney to interpret that language, because the issue is if the money is supposed to go for Mesa County projects, why is it going to CMU projects now and has been for at least the last 3 years? And it's possible, I guess the first thing is I can't imagine it takes this long, because there obviously is no state statute that's going to interpret that language. There is obviously no court case that's going to interpret that language. And granted, the county attorney can say he's busy, But this isn't a long project. At least he should explain why is it taking so long? What is there to research in order to reach an opinion that seems pretty clear on the surface? And let's just say he comes back and say, oh, Dennis is wrong. That when it says for Mesa County, it really means we can give money to CMU and maybe others. So I guess we do give to others. I would ask you individually to say, if you were a voter and you read this and you voted yes, would you buy into the notion that it was clear to you that this money wasn't necessarily going to be used for Mesa County projects? It could be used for anything. It could be used, somebody could come in here and say, you know, I'm going to build a new building that's going to create 20 jobs, but I need some help from you financially. And I understand you have this capital fund and you give money to people who aren't in the county. Why don't you give money to me as a private person, and I'm going to use it to do capital. Now, put yourself again in the shoes of voting for this. Would you have said you were giving the authority to the county commissioners of the future to do this? So I guess my first request is that you get an answer from the attorney soon, but even if he says it's okay, that you think as a normal person who would have voted for this, not like an attorney who's trying to provide an opinion that covers the actions that have been done. And a related suggestion, and I think it's important because you're going to have to go to election next year in some way, somewhere, because you don't have enough money and you don't see enough ways to cut expenditures to still provide services. This would not be real good to be out in the public when you have an election. I mean, at this point you can say, well, we just made a mistake. We forgot what that word said and our staff didn't tell us, but we're going to correct it. And when you correct it, you can't just say, in my opinion, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to come up with different money to give to CMU, or we're not going to give them any. You need to have the general fund refund back to the capital fund the at least $900,000 that has been inappropriately pulled out of the capital fund for something that the citizens did not vote for. And that will cause additional problems for the general fund that's already having tremendous problems. But that is just something that you're going to have to do to make things right, in my opinion. Because anything you do other than that is going to make life much more difficult next November if and when you put a ballot issue, whether it be to redirect the sales tax from capital to general, or whether it's an actual outright tax increase. The fact that this went on is not going to be a good selling point. I guess my 10 are up.
Thank you, Dennis.